Hello guys, today we are going to learn about Terraform modules. In actual production project, you have to write Terraform code as reusable code. Here reusable means same code across different environments like dev environment, stage environment or production environment. For different environments, you can't write these Terraform configuration files again and again, right? To avoid this repetition, we have Terraform modules. So using Terraform modules, you can write clean and reusable Terraform code. So what is Terraform module? In simple terms, it is a folder which contains the Terraform configuration files. So we can say all these configuration files in a root module. Also, we can create custom modules here. For example, we can create a module called as network module and we can define VPC, subnet, all of these in this network module. Similarly, we can create a module, something called as database module, and DB related configuration files we can add in DB module. Like this, you can create different modules for different resources. Generally, you can use these modules across different environments. So now I am going to create a module called as network module. So this will be my folder structure. We'll have files like main.tf, variables.tf and outputs.tf that I have explained in previous sessions. Now we have one more folder called as modules folder. Inside modules directory, we can have different modules. Now I'm going to create a module called as network module. Inside the network module, we have the Terraform configuration files like main.tf, variables.tf and outputs.tf. Let's create that now. So first I'm going to create a file called as main.tf in a network folder. I have created a modules folder and inside that I have created a network module and I have created a new file called as main.tf file. Here I'm going to create a VPC and a subnet. Let me add the content for VPC resource. So resource is Google Compute Network and the name is VPC network. Also it will not create subnetworks automatically. Then I can define another resource that is a subnetwork. So resource is Google Compute Network and the name is subnet. And I have defined everything using the variable. So I have to have a new file called as variables.tf inside my network folder. So let me create a variables.tf file in network folder. So here I can define all those variables. So variables are VPC name, subnet name and subnet CID here and the region. Also I can have outputs.tf file here. In outputs.tf file I can capture my VPC ID once the VPC is created. So that's it. Inside my network modules I have defined main.tf, variables.tf and outputs.tf files. One thing you have to notice here, inside main.tf file I have defined only the resources and not defined the provider details here. So I have to create a main.tf file in my root directory. In that main.tf files I'm going to add the provider details. So I have created a main.tf file in my root folder. Here first I have to define the provider details. So I'm going to use GCP. So provider is Google. So what next? What I have to define next here? I have to define a module here. So I can define module using module. Then I can give a name. For example, VPC module. Then the flower brackets. So first I have to define the source for this particular module. So source directory will be modules/network directory. Then I can pass the values for these four variables in this main.tf file. So for VPC name, I'm going to pass demo VPC. For subnet name, demo subnet and subnet CID is 10.0.0.0/24 means 2 to the power 32 minus 24 means 256 available address. Then the region is var.region. So I'm going to define this project ID and region in a variables.tf file in my root directory. So I'm going to create a variables.tf file in my root directory. And I'm going to define two variables here. The one is project ID and another one is region. Then I have to define the values for these two variables. In which file I'm going to define those values? In terraform.tf.wars file. So I have to create a terraform.tf.wars file now. Here I can just add the values for my project ID and region variables. Also optionally I can have outputs.tf file in my root directory also. Here I will have network ID. So everything is ready now. I can run a Terraform init now. Before running Terraform init, I have missed one thing in my main.tf file. What is that? I've added project ID region, but I have not added the credential. So I have to add the credentials also here. I've added my service accounts key JSON file here. I can define the credential in my provider details here. So in the main.tf file in provider block, I can define the credential. So credential, the file that is gcp nifty key.json. So now I can run Terraform init. So Terraform init is completed. You can see initializing modules also here. So VPC module in module/network directory. So what is the next step? That is Terraform plan. So in Terraform plan, you can check the resources that is going to be created or destroyed. So here I'm going to create two resources. One is VPC network and another one is subnet here. So in plan 2 to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy. Then the last step, Terraform apply. You can again review this. It's going to create two resources. Then you can approve this using yes. I got an error here. My project name is different. I gave a different name here. Let's correct that in my tf.wars file to make sure that I can again run Terraform init. Then Terraform plan. This is done. Now I can run Terraform apply also. Terraform apply. I can approve this using yes. So now you can see it is creating the resources that I have defined in my module.vpc module. So first it's going to create my VPC, then it's going to create my subnet. So that is done now. In outputs I can see my network ID, that is my VPC ID, that is nothing but demo VPC. So now if I check my GCP, I can see the demo VPC here, and if I go inside demo VPC, if I click on subnets here, I have one subnet that is demo subnet. And the CID range is 10.0.0.0/24. So this is how we define the modules. So you can define each modules in separate folder. Here I have created only one module, that is network module, but you can create modules like DB module or instance module. For those you can create a separate folders like network folder. Also for each module you can add a documentation file. For example, in network folder I have created a file called as readme.md. Here you can explain about this network module. For example, I have written all network resources will be created in this network module. You can create a detailed documentation in this readme file. Like this, for each module, so you can create a different README file so that other developers also understand what you have defined here. So that's it about modules. You can use this module in different environments like dev, prod, or stage. So here this network module will be same for all these environments. Maybe these values changes. So all the configuration files that is there in this network module will be same. So these modules can be reused for different environments. So that is the use case or main reason to create a module. So that's it. Subscribe and check out other videos too.